multitasking. We got a question right now off the rip. What's up? Hands up, hands up. Boom, my boy in the back.
So, hi, my name's Victor. Big fan. Nice to meet you.
Can you speak a little louder for us, please?
My question is, working on like the animated front of the Boondocks. I know that you guys, and correct me if I'm wrong, you guys work in tandem with a Korean studio or like an Asian studio. How was the dynamic between y'all, and how was the communication between y'all to get that perfect picture? You know what I mean? If it is perfect. You know?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. It never was a perfect picture for me, and you know, bro. So working with Aaron Magruder, like he was really fanatical about a lot of details and a lot of really what most people would consider as insignificant things. Like for example, right? If you notice in the show, we always change clothes, right? Like you see Huey and Riley, they always change clothes. Like it's a new day, they wear different clothes.
They got drip.
But you don't see that in animation.
They got that shit on.
You know what I'm saying? Usually in animation, if you, whatever clothes they have on, they wear it through the whole series, right? And but it was like, so it was really tough on different levels, right? Because it was I like to say we were making 22-minute movies, you know, because you know we have more scenes than a typical animated show. Like most shows would maybe have like maybe 250, maybe 300 scenes at the most, right? We would have like 700 scenes in the show, and then we have big crowd shots, you know, like the Kentucky Fried Chicken. You got tons and tons of niggas you got to draw. So it's like, so that was a challenge, number one, right? Just the scale of the show, but then the culture, whole nother thing, because there was just, you know what I mean? Like there's just a big gap culturally. Even when we worked with artists domestically, it was hard to translate the culture. You know what I mean? Because it's like Boondocks was like a subculture. It was like you know, it didn't speak to the majority of us. It spoke to a certain type of us, if that makes sense, right? And so it needed to be. It was to us. We looked at it. It was like hip hop. It was like hip hop contextualized what was going on in the ethos at the time. We were trying to do the same thing with the show. So there was a lot of like culturally specific shit and just like stuff that they just didn't get. So for example, right, like we had this. We had a problem with this one of the studios we worked with, Don Wu, in the first season. And they're a really dope studio, right? But they kept drawing Huey smiling all the time. Like all the studios they just had like just happened to be a revolutionary. And we was just like, so we kept telling them like stop having Huey smile, right? And so we were on a Skype one time, this was back then, we were on Skype, and they were like, we don't understand, like he's a kid, like how come he's not smiling? And so we said Malcolm X, and they went, oh. You know, so it took a lot of hand holding, and the other thing is, I literally used to act out like entire episodes. You know what I'm saying? So like anytime you seen the pit and back, all those like the little shit, and all that stuff, I had to act out. I would literally like sit on top of a table like this and do Thugnificent booty butt, booty butt.
I heard about that.
And then so we would film it and we would send it. So now like if you look like he's ghost riding the whip, like all of that was video footage that we had to see. It was just like, so it to me, I thought it got better and better each season, but you know, it never really got perfect. You know what I'm saying? So it was a lot.
Thank you so much.
What's up, bro? Since I love, huge fan, bro. Boondocks greatest cartoon of all time. Argue with your mama. My question: when you're doing your voice acting, like, how much freedom did you really have to like tap into like true niggatry of like? Definitely a word.
Well, I wasn't too far removed from real niggatry, right? Anyway, so like, it wasn't like I was doing like Shakespeare. Like, I came from niggatry. You know what I'm saying? So, but nah, it was cool. One of the things I think that we did differently than a lot of animated shows is we tried to work with, like, we don't want to just work with like all the typical, you know, voiceover actors, because I mean those guys, I mean, and all of them are great, but they're really polished and they do a very specific thing, right? But so there's something about like having guys like Lil Wayne, right? Who's not a voiceover artist, I mean actor, but he brought his own unique personality to the character. And that's a lot of times that's how we would cast. We would just look for people that that could bring something really, really cool to the character. You know, it's funny too. I just thought about this when we casted Lil Wayne. So we because we was listening to all this music at the time, right? So we wrote the script trying to make sure his dialogue was consistent with what we thought
He was saying
right. So we had Wardy in almost every line. There was like Wardy was in it, right? He didn't say Wardy one time, and he just kind of skipped over. He didn't even say that. He just didn't say it. And I asked him at the end of it. I was like, "Hey man, we noticed you didn't say Wardy." He's like, "Nah." He said, "We don't do that all the time." Y'all had it like 5 times every line. So I'm like, "All right, we learned."
Thank you, bro. I appreciate that.
I was giving the girl for the LA. You got it. Go
I
ahead.
just wanted to ask, how did you balance, I guess, both sides, taking both acting and also doing
Well, it's funny because I never really planned on being a voice actor, really. But what would happen is, we would stunt cast. We would cast like a lot of, be like I said, like rappers a lot of times, or it could be a celebrity or someone that's just outside the voiceover spectrum, right? So what I would do is a lot of times I would temp all the lines in the script because the animation process, like we can't wait because if I don't know if Ghostface is on tour, then we gotta wait until he's available. So until then, I would just temp those lines and we would build an animatic, which I'm sure you guys are familiar with animatics. It's like when you put the storyboard together as a movie. So I would just temp the lines in. So for Thugnificent, for example, like that was supposed to be Ludacris. A lot of people don't know that. But so and this is a weird story. So Luda agreed to play Thugnificent if I drew his album cover. And so I'm like, all right, cool. That's a bet. Like I'm just doing your album. I'll do your album cover for free. That's great, cool. So he gave me his number, and I'm calling him. He's never answering the phone because I'm trying to figure out, like, well, what am I supposed to be drawing? Like, you know what I mean? So one day I blocked my number and I called, and the nigga answered. And so I was like, Luda, it's me, Carl. He said, hey man, normally I don't answer the phone from an unknown number. And I was like, but you did. Why we having this? And so he was like, well, I can't talk right now. So he got off the phone, and I'm like, damn, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. So I never did the album cover. So when it came time for him so basically before we actually got in touch with him again, I just temped all the Thugnificent lines in the show, right? And we kept pushing the record session. Finally, we got up with him, and he said he couldn't do it. So we were like, well, shit, because when I was doing that voice, I was actually trying to do Luda, I was doing that version of Luda, right? And we couldn't get him, you know what I'm saying? So that's how I ended up getting the job. But so a lot of times it would just be like, that. Like with the Booty Warrior, that was another character. But the funny thing about that was, like, I didn't plan on playing the Booty Warrior either. I was just like, I was fucking around in the office, you know what I mean, and just doing the voice. And, and Aaron was like, all right, nigga, Booty is more important than food.
More important than drinking water.
So I don't know, balancing the two, it wasn't really that difficult because, like I said, I was having to, like I said, it was like I was acting shit out. I was temping a lot of lines, so I was like kind of like really immersed in it already, like on all levels. And to be honest, I don't think anything ever was really balanced because we were always over budget, like at least $1 million a season. You know what I mean? So like we but that was the thing. We cared so much about the quality of the show. We literally would work around the clock. I mean, literally to make it what it was. And Sony would complain. Everybody would scream about the delays and the budget. But I feel like if we didn't do that, it wouldn't be what it was. You know what I'm saying?
Yo, my name is Billy, member of the Lethal Rejection Crew. With the way Boondocks was, as popular as it got, all the fan base acclaim it all, what are the likelihood chances of it coming back for you?
I don't think it's gonna come back. I just say there's a lot of politics involved with that that I can't really get into. But I miss it too. You know what I'm saying? There's been a couple of attempts, but you know, things just couldn't really work out.
You can't say too much?
I can't really, man, because it's like, well, it's just because, you know, it's a weird industry, man. It's like, it's some weird stuff, legal stuff and shit. Like, so I try to like not really get into too much of the politics, you know, that are going on behind the scenes. But bro, trust me, like, there's plenty of times, like, you know, because I mean, you know, I live with these characters for a long time. We all do, you know, our whole team, and so like, they become real to you. You know what I mean? And it's so, you know, you miss them. Like I miss the show. I miss working with the people on the show too, like John Witherspoon. It's like, you know what I mean? Like,
Rest in peace.
Man, John, and you know the funny thing about John, like John, to me, I mean, Granddad was John Witherspoon.
Yeah. He really was.
Like the character was tailored to what he does best, and I think, you know, meeting all of these really great people on the show, like Regina King and Steve Garber and all that, and you know, even the writers like Roger Barnes and Mara Taylor, like there's a lot of really good. I felt like we had this dope dream team, and it started to slowly, like the team started to slowly fall apart, and you know, and that's a whole other thing, you know, we don't really get into, but I miss it just like you know. What part?
All over the country, but I graduated from Haitian in Southview graduate.
Southview? Okay. Yeah, we used to play Southview. I went to West Hope.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, like he said, he was niggatry.
That's a nigga.
It all makes sense, actually.
Yeah.
So I had a question because I also am a visual artist, but I focus so much on trying to make everything look so realistic that I lost the passion of cartoon.
Yeah, you know it's interesting because for me, I'm even the anime that I like the most is like most of the directors I gravitate to are the ones that kind of like take it a little step further than what you see traditionally being done. You know, like I'm a big Takashi Koike fan, so like I love like Redline, you know, and like Mine, and even like Cowboy Bebop. If you look at like the design of Cowboy Bebop, the characters are more elongated. It's a little like Lupin, you know what I'm saying? Where like the characters are a little bit more, you know, a little bit more exaggerated, and even the way the show is directed is a little bit, you know, push the cinematography and the cameras in odd places where it's like, you know, it's people having a conversation on the couch, but the camera's on the floor, just catching their ankles, or a cigarette burning, you know what I mean? So I personally, like I like to like push the boundaries as much as possible, you know, by just exaggerating. Like I would just I don't know what your are you a character designer or are you fine art? Yeah, I think I would say across the board. I just say meaning design wise, and even if you're directing scenes, if you're storyboarding or whatever it is you get into, just think about pushing perspective, right? Push perspective, and also play with shapes, you know, because the other thing is, yeah, everyone can mimic reality, especially with AI. You know what I mean? Like anybody can mimic reality, but you want to develop your own unique touch. You know what I'm saying? So if it's just even making the heads bigger, you know what I'm saying, or you know, change the anatomy a little bit. I mean, have fun with it. You know what I'm saying? Because if you're not having fun with it, it's kind of like it's pointless to me. You know, at the end of the day, I don't even like at this point anything that I do. It has to be something that I'm actually having fun with. If you're drawing right now and you're not having fun doing it, don't go back to, you know what I'm saying? Because at one point, I'm sure, like, especially when you were younger and you were kind of exploring, trying to find a style. Yeah, I know. You know, that's why I keep a sketchbook with me all the time, everywhere I go. And the dope thing about sketchbooks is, you know, you don't have to show it. No one's seeing this, so it's just an intimate relationship with you and the work, right? So just explore. Just, you know what I mean? Just push it. Of course. And then I'm a loser, that's why she said.
I got next.
Who said I got next, man? Who said I got next?
It's me.
Oh, did you just ask?
No. I thought she asked for autograph.
Oh, I thought you meant, no, she was giving me a call.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead, bro.
Yeah, so I was in one of your other fellows, Kyle.
Oh, okay.
I love what you said about fun. I just want to know, like, life creator navigating the business side of your career, what was the importance of the value of I'm having fun, and how do you balance that if I gotta make moves? I know as life creators, fun is almost something you have to fight for in your psyche, and even outside your psyche.
Yeah, no, that's a good question. You know, most of the time when people ask me for like advice for like aspiring creators, you know, who want to get into the industry, one thing I always tell everybody is you gotta develop thick skin, right? Because, you know, especially as an artist, we're driven by passion, I love this, you know what I mean? But bro, like politics in this industry, there's I had no one to really put me on game before I got into it, because, you know, I didn't realize, I took people's word, you know what I'm saying? It's like I thought when people said something, it meant what they actually said. You know, I didn't realize that so many people lie in this industry, and so many people, there's a lot of, they rob you through contracts, you know what I'm saying? And so when you start to understand that, oh, this is a heist. This is a way to take what I create and, you know, for basically free or for pennies, and you know, so I would just say, like, it's tough, bro, because I'm just saying, to keep that inspiration and that drive to want to create art when you're also having to deal with like the politics of the industry, and understanding that, like, for example, you create a show, just to give you an example what I mean. So like, you create a show, right? And then you take it to Hollywood, okay? Now Hollywood, if you're lucky, Hollywood might greenlight the script, right? If you greenlight the script, if they like the script, and that, mind you, after you write a script, it's got to go through a chain of different people. They got to upsell it to their higher ups, the marketing team, everybody's weighing in on your art. And if they decide that it's good enough to go to a pilot, then they go to a pilot. Who has it? Oh, okay. So if it gets greenlit to move to pilot, right? Then that is rare, very rare, but because there's only so many pilots that get made, and then they'll review the pilot, and if the pilot's good enough, they get picked up the series. Now, the moment that you sell this show, right, they own it outright, right, completely, in perpetuity, from now until forever, from here out into the universe. And it actually says that in the contract. So exactly, you can't go to another planet and do the show. It belongs to them forever, right? The other problem with this contract is, if you're not working out, or you're not playing fairly, or at least what they consider as you playing fairly, which means like you know everything they say, they just remove you from the project. You know what I'm saying? And so now all this blood, sweat, and tears you put into this creativity is gone. You know, and when that happens a few times, you know, it cuts you, bro. It cuts you deep in your soul. You know, and so it's difficult sometimes to keep that same drive and that same ambition and passion when you know that these are kind of cutthroat individuals that you're dealing with. Now, that's not always the case, because there's some networks out there. Like, I was fortunate enough, I think I got a little spoiled because Adult Swim was, you know, I mean, they still own your stuff, right? Yeah. But, you know, they were a little nicer about it, I guess. You know, it was more like a family atmosphere, and you felt really supported on the creative side. But on the business side, it makes no sense at all. We're just selling all of our ideas away. We have no residual. I mean, the residual checks are really, really, really small. It's not even worth talking about. And it just doesn't make sense, man. So this is part of the reason why we started this company, Martian Blueberry, and we took a deep dive into Web3 and NFTs. You know, which I know NFTs have kind of like a negative connotation, because usually people, you know, it's just because there's a lot of people scamming a lot of niggas in Web3, right? It was just a lot of bullshit going on. You know, because when it first started happening, or got popular, there was a lot of people coming from, like, you know, the stock market world, a lot of capitalists and people that were more crypto guys, right, getting into NFTs. So there was this kind of capitalistic, kind of vulture kind of thing happening, on the financial side. But on the creative side, there's a lot of really dope things happening. There's people using the blockchain and using NFTs as a vehicle to introduce IP, to grow and seed your IP, build community around it, and also make money to finance your TV show or your film or your toys or whatever it is you want to do. And so it's a really, really dope space. And this is, this is the way that we're approaching a lot of the new stuff that we're creating, so that we can actually maintain some of that ownership, if not all of it. And so I would recommend anybody who has any ideas or any creative that you're trying to get into Hollywood, I would say first, look at these other verticals, especially publishing. Like put out a manga, put out a graphic novel or a comic book, so you own those publishing rights. So therefore, you know what I mean, you have more legs to stand on when it comes time to do a deal with Hollywood. So you can carve out some of these things and still retain the ownership. Yeah.
Okay. It's got some music on the QR code.
Oh, dope.
The artist, I'm here on behalf of her.
Okay. Wow, that is dope.
No, it's okay.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it, man. I'll check it out.
That's dope, but.
Hell yeah, make your move, my boy.
Sorry guys, I made more question because I'm sure you guys want to take like pictures and stuff. So I wanna get some.
I got first.
So one more question.
My question is this, who knows what like Boondocks when did like the idea of like the show happen? And where were you
So here's the thing. So the actual Boondocks, the TV show is based on a comic strip, right? So Aaron Mazzuta created the comic strip, and then he hired me to help him work on the comic strip. So we were doing that before the show got here. So and a lot of people don't know, Fox was the first actual place that we tried to do the show, but it didn't work out. Which, I think it's, I don't know if it's better, because I don't think it was right for Fox anyway, but Adult Swim actually picked up the show, and now it's going on. I actually started out like, doing more character design and board business and stuff like that when I graduated to producing the show. But the thing is, the comic strip and the show were very different. There was some similar. I think the political aspects of it were very similar, but the show kind of opened up the world and we did more pop culture stuff, right? So it was like, you know what I mean? We knew that we had to do that in order to really sustain it as a TV show. And also at the time, like Dave Chappelle came out, you know what I mean? And we were kind of like, damn, like we gotta hit that voice. So not voice, but that's the vibe. You know what I'm saying? Like the way he was like speaking to the culture was crazy. Like we saw on that black white supremacist. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what I had but that was kind of the goal was like how do we gotta speak to the culture in a real way, so